Welcome to Jewish Wisdom on JTV. We're doing fireside chats created in association with Ollie, and we're joined now by Rabbi Dr Akiva Tatz. Thanks for coming back onto the program. I want to start off by talking about spirituality. You were approached by a Buddhist Jew, a Jew that decided to become a Buddhist, who felt that Judaism was really void of spirituality. And frankly, I think if you speak to a lot of people, they might say that they don't really engage enough or see the spirituality in their Jewish experience, perhaps when they go to synagogue or engage in other Jewish rituals. And I wanted to ask you, what would you say are your top tips for someone looking to find spirituality within Judaism?
That Buddhist who approached me, in fact, was somebody who didn't exactly feel that his Judaism was devoid of spirituality. He just had no genuine knowledge of Judaism. But, as he began to explore it and find more depth, he found answers to his questions. And in fact, you can read a book that we wrote about that, which is called Letters to a Buddhist Jew. But I think you're correct. I think in the modern Western world, Judaism is not presented at a deep spiritual level. I think that's a problem. I think many of the teachers and people who are responsible for the Jewish community and its education are not themselves aware of the deep spirituality of Judaism. What are top tips? People who have the interest in meditation can explore that. There are Jewish sources on that, if it's meditation. Probably the single most important tip is to have some exposure to the world of Kabbalah. Jewish Kabbalistic wisdom is nothing other than a teaching of deep spirituality. Today it's becoming more popular. There was a time in our parents' generation where that was seen as problematic, as unauthentic, as too exotic, too esoteric. And so a generation was raised without any knowledge of that field. Today, for various reasons, it's becoming more available. There are a lot of books written about it in English and other languages. I think if you asked me for one single tip, I would probably say that a person wishing to explore Jewish spirituality needs to explore at least the beginning of contact with the world of Kabbalah. It has its dangers, it has certain provisos and certain conditions, but that is directly the field of Jewish abstract spiritual thinking. That usually serves to open a gate to this field.
And can you give examples of sort of where Kabbalah could be accessed and perhaps an interesting Kabbalistic idea that might enhance someone's spiritual dimension to their Judaism?
Where it can be accessed is much easier to find places that are not good to access, places that are selling Kabbalah as some sort of a new age solution, or money-making establishments or people. Those are to be avoided. But of course, in any genuine Torah teaching environment where there's someone mature enough to have access to sources, we'll be glad to teach and to explore those sources. You ask for an idea. The world of Kabbalah, of course, is as complex as the world. But if there's one idea, probably it is that one of the most basic themes in Kabbalah is that the world is structured in a three-part or three-tiered system. There's the right-hand side, which is the side of giving, unconditional giving. There's the left-hand side, which is the side of unconditional withdrawal and withholding. And the harmony point, the point of balance in the center, where the correct amount of giving is limited by the correct amount of limitation. Right? Just to give you an example, when the rain falls, that's an ultimate giving. The rain makes everything grow. On the other hand, if it falls without limit, it's a flood and destructive. Mm-hmm. So you need the rain to fall on the one hand, you need it to stop. What's the central point of balance? It should stop at exactly the right moment. It stops too late, you have a flood. It stops too soon, you don't have growth. So probably the most basic of all Kabbalistic ideas, which in the philosophical world is known as the dialectic between a thesis, an antithesis, and a synthesis that put them together. The Kabbalistic teaching, the Kabbalistic root of that idea is a right-hand side, which is the side of projection and unlimited giving, a left-hand side of discipline, and finding the harmony between them. Practically, you raise a child, for example. You say yes as often as you can. You need to say no too. How do you know when to say no? That's a question of mature judgment. If you say yes too often, you spoil the child, you harm them. You say no too often, that's a cruelty. It takes mature judgment to know what is appropriate, where to say yes, where to say no. It's that harmonizing point. That is the Just give you one more example. The center of the body is the harmonizing between the right, which is unlimited giving, and the left, which is discipline. This point of the body is known as tiferet. The root of that word is pe'er, which means beauty. Beauty is always a harmonizing of opposites. And it so happens that those three letters spell the word rofeh as well, a doctor, a healer. A healer knows how to bring opposing, unbalanced forces into balance. That's the most basic theme, probably.
To stay up to date with the latest JTV content, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe below the video and the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, click the like button, and under following, click see first.